Looking at this ruined pier and shattered concrete, you would assume a Category 5 hurricane tore through here. But there was no storm, no earthquake. The weather log for the day this structure gave way shows nothing but a mild ocean breeze. The true culprit was much smaller. Deep inside the wooden framing, a single thumb-sized metal bolt snapped, triggering a catastrophic chain reaction. Standard building practices become a structural liability at the water's edge, effectively assembling a ticking time bomb. We tend to think of the beach as a relaxing landscape, but microscopically, the very moment that ocean spray hits a metal surface, it becomes a violent chemical bath. Standard rust relies on a simple triad: iron, oxygen, and moisture. Inland, this interaction progresses slowly over years. Coastal environments introduce a lethal catalyst. Airborne chlorides from salt spray physically shred the protective layers on steel, forcing oxygen to bond with iron at an accelerated rate. The data shows the resulting attack speed. Coastal steel degrades up to 10 times faster than the exact same metal inland. The coastal atmosphere acts as a chemical solvent, steadily consuming the building's framing until the material literally disappears into the air. The builder of this collapsed deck believed they were safe. They had specifically chosen hardware marketed as protected or weather-resistant. Their primary defense was hot-dip galvanized steel. This process coats a steel bolt in zinc, which is designed to sacrifice itself, oxidizing first to keep the core steel intact. On the coast, that sacrificial zinc burns away almost immediately. Once the coating is exhausted, salt spray hits the bare steel core, and protection vanishes. To prevent this, many builders upgrade to 304 stainless steel. It uses chromium to create a defensive surface layer, but it possesses a fatal vulnerability to high salinity air. This is the mechanism of pitting. Chloride ions pool in microscopic surface scratches, holding moisture against the metal and drilling deep into the core, while the exterior remains deceptively shiny. These intermediate materials provide a false sense of security, masking a hidden structural rot that leads to sudden failure. Rust and pitting were only the beginning. A second, invisible process was actively destroying the joints of the structure. Galvanic corrosion occurs the moment two dissimilar metals, like an aluminum bracket and a steel screw, make physical contact. This diagram shows salt spray completing the circuit. The environment turns that connection into an electrochemical battery, causing the weaker metal to rapidly dissolve. This occurs out of sight, deep inside the timber, hollowing out load-bearing connections until the fastener has nothing to hold onto. Mismatched hardware creates an internal chemical circuit that forces the building to consume its own connections from the inside out. Mastering the coastal environment requires a shift to the highest tier of marine metallurgy, 316 marine-grade stainless steel. The secret to its resilience is the addition of 2 to 3% molybdenum into the alloy. Molybdenum creates the atomic defense shown here. It forms a self-healing barrier that deflects chloride ions, preventing them from ever gaining a foothold on the surface. For structures that will be fully submerged, engineers go even further, utilizing specialty alloys like silicon bronze or even pure titanium. But for a coastal build to last, 316 stainless is the chemical baseline, the only material capable of surviving the constant chloride assault. To build on this scale, the integrity of the entire structure depends on the metallurgical perfection of every individual joint. Engineering protocols require the rule of isolation. All connected hardware must either be made of identical metals or separated by insulating polymer washers to break the galvanic circuit. Even with perfect materials, the term stainless is a description of resistance, not an absolute immunity to the elements. Elite hardware still requires routine maintenance. A regular rinse with fresh water removes the salt crust before it can build up and challenge the metal's microscopic defenses. Nature will always win a war of attrition, but mastering the science of marine metallurgy gives human engineering the power to hold back the tide for generations.